Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Corine Iyame, and I am the president of the Lebanese League for Women in Business. And for the past 8 years, I was the chief investment officer at IM Funding. So IM Funding is a venture capital fund, fully funded by USAID, and it does equity insurance, equity guarantee, and technical assistance. IM Capital was originally incorporated in 2015, and we invest in early stage businesses, which I guess is today the state of the majority of the participants. Incorporated 2015, we started the program with $15 million. And when I left just 3 months ago, we were standing at $79 million. So all this money is done on a matching perspective. What does mean matching? Means that any entrepreneur can come and approach IM Funding today and ask for a matching capital. Yani you already need to have secured 50% of the round before approaching those venture capital. As you all probably know, any idea needs funding in order for it to grow. I'm going to share with you a couple of slides so that we discuss it in detail. I hope you can all see my screen. So every startup starts with an idea. Simply, the entrepreneur sleeps a day, wake up with a beautiful idea, and he wants to try to materialize it. We all need this capital. Always the first capital will come from the 3 F's, as you see on the screen. What does 3F mean? It's family, friends, and fools. Allow me to say. Why? Usually those are really the first $10,000 or the first $20,000 that the entrepreneur will even take from his own saving to create the company or ask his family. And why do we say fools? Usually it's just an idea today. So this person that is giving this family member or this fool that is giving this small ticket is not really basing his judgment or his investment decision on anything that is material that he can see or touch. So that's why we call them the fools. If you look at the second part of the chart, you will see that it is dedicated to seed funding. What is seed funding? After the 3 F's and after investing those first 10K or 20K, the company, in order for it to grow, will require probably year 1, 100K, year 2, $500,000. And if this company will grow in order for it to be listed eventually on a stock exchange, which is the ideal exit scenario of any venture capital, they will require a lot of funding throughout their process, their journey. And why would they require a capital? It's to grow the company. So we grow locally and then probably try to expand internationally. All this requires capital. But unfortunately, before the startup moves from the 3 F's to the seed funding, there is something that we call a valley of death. What is the valley of death? It's a startup when it first gets incorporated and the startup at the acceleration stage, in between, the majority of the entrepreneur won't be able to get funding from an early stage venture capital. Because they're not really developed yet. They don't have a strong value proposition, and sometimes it's a very basic prototype. So in order for them to be ready to those VCs and get the big tickets, there is a certain special type of investors that usually is funding this valley of growth, and that's what we call an angel investor. And as you can see from the left hand, you see that 60% of the companies, of the startups, when they move from idea stage to early and growth, 60% of those deals are covered by the angel investor. So what is an angel investor? I think, it carries the name literally. It is an angel, so it is a person usually that would do an investment called a heart-driven investment. And And how do we find those people? They're usually ultra high net worth individuals. And in order for any entrepreneur to find them, there is usually networks available in each country. I will tell you the story about the Lebanon story in angel investment. But now let's agree on what is angel investment. So it's usually a private individual that would invest in a team or a person in order for it to see it grow. Usually the tickets are not higher than $100,000. And the majority of the angel investors have tendency into investing in technology and lately AI. Their target is to make money, of course, but as well to mentor the entrepreneur and help him throughout his journey. And the majority of the angel investors usually belong to the same sector of the startup. So for example, if the entrepreneur is working on a health tech app, usually the seed investor is probably a doctor. Why? Because those are the people that are working in the sector. They acknowledge the pain. And when they see that there is one entrepreneur that is willing to resolve it, they're ready to invest in him or her, of course. The venture capital is a little bit more sophisticated. A venture capital would usually acquire up to 20 or 30% of a startup. They will take a board seat. They'll be part of setting the strategy, and their only target is to make money. So this is by description and by mandate what a venture capital would require. In the growth stage, we talk usually about a 30% investment on the return per year. But when we talk about, the giant venture capital, this is where they expect to make 20x over that investment. But I want you all to acknowledge the fact that, not every investment is a winning investment. On the contrary, 90% of the investment deals are usually bad trades. However, the 10% that are remaining and the exit that usually comes from the first 10 are going to make 20K over the total investment of the money. In the US, we talk about a 262 rule in venture capital. What is 262? It's literally over 10 investment, 2 would completely close down, as in 3 years down the road, the entrepreneur gets the investment and the company dies. So we completely delete the investment on the roll. 6 would represent to those startups that would grow per annum 10 or 15%. So they weren't able to conquer the market. And for us VCs, we consider them as a loss. Because how does a venture capital make his money is when he sells the equity stakes that he holds in those companies. So if no one comes and buys those shares, or the entrepreneur comes in and buy it with a certain return, the venture capital considers it as a total loss. So out of the 10, so we said that the 2 have closed, 6 are stagnant. So it's a total loss for us. The remainder 2 would actually make up for all the money, multiply by at least by 5 if we want to talk a good performance of a VC, and 20x would be the performance of the star. Those stars are usually called unicorns. So when a company gets a valuation higher than $1 billion, we call it a unicorn. If you're wondering today if there are any unicorns available, knowing what's happening in the world, so if I want to give you just a little bit of numbers of what's happening in the global VC ecosystem, 2020, the total value of the global transaction stood at $300 billion. Unfortunately, the last year's numbers have went down to 100. So we've seen the money being cut by a third. Imagine, if historically the VC ecosystem used to do 10 trades, today they are barely making 3. So the number has been divided by that much. And I guess we can all see it today if we just, turn any local news. We will see the big layoffs that is happening at the giant techs, whether it's IBM, whether it's Google, etc. So yes, the world is not doing good from an investment and number of transaction perspective. However, we need to acknowledge that last year, at the beginning of last year, we saw, the AI shining. And I think the biggest, the win came from the $10 billion Microsoft deal for ChatGPT. So, when AI came in and the investors saw how fast those sectors will be moving, because today, realistically, any company can be embedded in AI, whether it's its product or its internal system or its way of optimizing internal processes in any sector, even in local manufacturing. When we input technology and the power of AI to optimize the return, this is when things will, it can be, anyone can be AI today. So if we want to zoom in a little bit on this total global VC ecosystem, you will see that historically, AI represented only 13% of the total pot. However, last year's number showed that this number has increased to 26%, which is super interesting for the sector. Investors are today putting more capital into the VC. They believe in the power of, this new era. I have, there is one big investor that told me once. He said, with the power of AI today, all the companies will benefit, and the pain and the vitamins became painkillers. So we're still talking about the same sector. However, all the products today can be optimized. So despite this downtrend, AI is taking a big part of the pie. And we've seen already 12 unicorn, and the world is expecting another 20 within 2 years. So that's like a small recap of what's happening today. So I'm going to take you a little bit now to the story of Lebanon and its angel investment. So when we incorporated IM in 2015, and we analyzed the market back at the time, we saw that, before we talk about that, I need to tell you about what is Article 331. Summer 2014, the governor of the Lebanese Central Bank issued a circular under the number 331. So today, if you're in Lebanon and you talk to any VC, they would simply refer them to 331 VCs. So in 2016, in this article, he allowed the commercial banks of Lebanon to invest between 4 to 6% of their capital into early stage businesses, which unleashed $500 million. If you want to take best 6% of the top 10 Lebanese commercial banks in Lebanon, the number will give you that in 2014, more than $500 million were allowed and ready to be invested in the VC ecosystem. 2015, we saw a lot of people repatriating to Lebanon, and the country saw the establishment of 13 venture capital funds. Obviously, I was one of those that came back. So I came back to Lebanon in 2015. It was during that era. But before that, I used to live in Dubai, and I did private equity for $1 billion asset management firm called Char Capital. So 2015, we set up IM funding. And out of the 13 VCs that I just mentioned to you, the majority, or it's not 80%, were dedicated to growth stage investment. So in order for any startup to get an investment ticket, they need to have achieved at least a prototype showing beautiful data and usually a turnover higher than $1 million. The 20% remainder were more dedicated to early stage. And then we had a lot of accelerators in Lebanon, a lot of incubators. I don't know if I should maybe tell you what is the difference between an accelerator and an incubator. An accelerator is usually a 3 to 6 month program where the startup will enroll based on a full-time basis, and they will work on their business model, their financials, hoping that at the end of this period, they will be able to pitch their idea to investors. An incubator is a one-year term, and it's usually like a rental program where a startup would come, plug in just a PC, and everything would be ready. So you have access to internet, to phones, to trainings, to physical and online training. So it's more technical assistance, and you pay it part of the rent. So in Lebanon, we had the accelerators, which is, providing the market with beautiful startup. Incubators where, it was very easy for those startups to open shop directly from day one. And we had the early stage and later stage VC, and was one of those early stage VCs. However, between the accelerator and the early stage, we had a big gap, and this is the value of that I referred to it earlier. So what can you do? So when the startup graduates from an accelerator, it's not ready yet for those early stage. So we decided to create an angel fund in Lebanon. It was the second of its kind, knowing that the first one was established in 2011, but did not show any investment from the network. So we wanted to do things differently, and we knew that Lebanon, is not doing well. The economy was always not so stable. Talking to investor and talking to the diaspora to invest in Lebanon, they had a little doubt. But we needed this group. We needed to find something or someone that would cover for us this empty piece of the puzzle. So we traveled to more than 6 countries. We met the France Angel Network, the Paris Business Angel Network. We saw the Swiss model. We saw the US model. We went to Dubai, saw what's happening in Saudi, et cetera. And then we decided to adopt the Swiss model. And what is different between, all those models and the Swiss model? The Swiss model is based on pooling capital. So instead of going and finding 1 or 2 or 3 ultra high net worth individuals that would give us a ticket of 50K or 100K per year, we said we're going to democratize it. And we're not going to look for, one ultra high net worth. On the contrary, we're going to make business angel investment in Lebanon democratized. So you don't need to be an ultra high net worth in order for you to invest in a startup. We will be pooling money from various small investors. We will pool all this money into one pot. And it's that pot that this SPV, it's called a special purpose vehicle, that is created for the sole reason of investing those angels investors' money into up to 4 or 6 startups per year. So every year, we used to onboard 20 to 25 angel investors. Each of them would only pay a ticket of $15,000, which is very low for business angels. We discussed before that usually the minimum ticket is around 50K, and they usually invested in one startup. And the model that we designed, we used to take 20 to 25 investors. Each would pay a ticket of $15,000. So if we multiply it, you will see that we will get up to $300,000 to invest in startup. In Lebanon, we had 2 matching programs, which is what is, and another World Bank program, whereby if you approach those programs with a dedicated capital for investment, they will match it dollar to dollar. So we went to the first matching institution, they gave us dollar to dollars, and then we went to the World Bank and they gave us another 300K. So we ended up, we fundraised from angels only around 300K, and the remainder, which is the amount multiplied by 3, would be invested in Lebanon, which is on average, we used to invest $1 million in 4 to 6 startups. So how does it work? It's usually investment meeting, as you can see from the picture. It's always a rounded or a U-shaped model. Every 6 weeks, we used to propose to those angel investors. So those people that you see on the table are the investors themselves. So each of those have invested $15,000. We used to group them every 6 weeks, propose to them 3 entrepreneurs that we have already reviewed and approved, of course. So we don't let anyone pitch to the group. On the contrary, we're very diligent on who to show off because it's part of the success of the network. So we used to propose to them 3 entrepreneurs. The entrepreneur would come, pitch his idea, show us the financials, and then for 15 minutes usually. And then we used to have 10 minutes of Q&A where the investors themselves would start asking questions and clarification about their pitch deck and their financial. And what's nice, it's the power of diversification. So today we have on each of those tables 20 to 25 investors. You can be sure that 99% of the time we'll have an expert in the dedicated, an expert in the sector that the startup has pitched. And that usually adds a beautiful discussion between the experts and the entrepreneur. So the entrepreneur would leave, and then we debrief about each investment deal, and then we vote. Simply, democracy would win. 50% plus one of the investors available in the meeting, a 50% plus one would say yes, we will proceed with due diligence and then closing. And then if 50% says no, we completely dump the investment idea. So now I introduced the due diligence process. So what is a due diligence process? It's literally when we go and sit with the entrepreneur for probably, on average, it's five meetings, each of 2 hours. And we would request for some documentation, some clarification. We'll ask about the exit strategy, we'll ask about the valuation, etc. And then at the end of the due diligence, we usually end up by having something called an info memo that is usually divided into a business due diligence feedback, a financial due diligence feedback, and then the way going forward and whether we think this is a company that would grow in the J curve, and it would go from 0 revenue to expanding exponentially year on year. Those are the type of investments that we usually look at. So and what can we do to have an output? Why would we say no? Let me put it this way. Why would we say no to an investment, and why would we say yes to investment? When we do those due diligence, what is the main essence that we look at? Knowing that those are startups, and usually they haven't been in business for more than 3 or 6 or 1 year. So there is not a lot of documents or partnerships that have already been signed. But what we focus on as investors is, one, we need to see that the startup has developed a strong value proposition. And I like to call it the 10x factor. And I always ask my entrepreneur, what is your 10x factor? And what are you doing better than the rest? Tell me, I'm 10 times faster. My product is 10 times faster, 10 times cheaper, or 10 times what? This is what we need to analyze. Because today, realistically, we see a lot of copycats. And when we see those copycats being based in the region, they need to be doing something better than the competition. So it's the secret sauce. So, and I always ask this question, what is your secret sauce? Why would you be able to become a unicorn? Why isn't it your competition? Tell me what you are doing better. So this answer should be clear, and it is usually the first question that we ask during those meetings. We need to see that there is a solid team and that they are able to work together. The personalities of the entrepreneurs matters a lot. We need to see that the team is able to work together, and that that they are coachable. So when we give and we provide them with ideas or things to look at, we need to know that it is a partnership. The way we operate is a partnership. We care a lot about the data. Data from a market perspective. How big is the market that you're targeting? And data from the startup itself. And usually what we request for is a 5 years financial projection. And usually entrepreneurs it's weird to ask someone who has just set up a company that is dated 3 months or 4 months. It's very hard to ask him about, a 5 years down the future. They really don't know how it looks. And we acknowledge, we know that it is very hard to build a financial model. However, the financial model is only the replication of the business of the pitch deck into numbers. And when we say this is the product, I'm going to take up to 0.1% of this market. And later on, I'm going to start the business, for example, in Lebanon, expand to Dubai, UAE, and then we're going to be targeting Saudi Arabia. So all those beautiful words and this pitch deck, they have to be represented in dollar signs. We need to know that the entrepreneur is thinking about having a marketing strategy, about having a budget for it. That if you want to put, and usually we always ask, okay, you're going to put up to 50K in your marketing, but how much is this 50K going to generate as revenue? And if there is no link between the spending of the startup and the increase of revenue, this is usually a losing trade. Pre-corona, I might not have said this. Pre-corona, on the contrary, the majority of the VCs were betting on the number of subscribers without asking for monetization of the companies. Post-corona, the world has changed. We look a lot at the operating cost, about the runway of the startup, which will automatically give us an indication on the valuation and what is the equity that we will be holding. So data is very important. We look a lot at partners, at the partnership that those companies have established, and if not signed, which are they targeting? I always ask them, what are your top 5 partners, ideally in an ideal scenario? And then we see if we can approach them or not. What are your top 5 clients? What is your ideal client, and which sector is your product sold to the global population, or is it more targeted towards a niche population? So partnerships are very important, and always my advice to entrepreneur is be patient and be prepared. So due diligence would take some time. So we're talking about up to 12 hours. We expect the entrepreneur to answer promptly and fastly, and to have the data already available. So we will never, it will be very bad actually if an investor would ask for a certain document and you'd say it's work in progress. We need to see that you're ready, and that, I tell them, what if I give you the money tomorrow? And this is always my answer. So you approach a venture capital. What if we are that fast and we give you the money tomorrow? Will you be able to deploy them? Do you know where you're going to target your money, etc.? So be prepared always and be patient. Really, patience is usually one of I don't have the patience, but I always pitch for patience, especially in entrepreneurship, because it requires a lot of effort and time to see the impact or the expected generation of revenue from the product itself. So all in all, since 2016, we created, as I mentioned, Seeders. It's called Seeders, and we invest 4 to 6 companies every year. 2017, we noticed that all those startups that we were funding the previous year, the majority were men. We didn't have any woman-led company. And even the pot of investors, I refer to you to 20 or 25 investors that we recruit every year. Maybe 5% or 10% of the first group were women. And we made some research, and everyone acknowledged, I guess, the biased perspective of things. And we decided to create a fund dedicated for women. So we created the Lebanese Women Angel Fund. That was a representation as well of 20 to 25 only women investors that would invest only in up to 4 or 6 startups per year. So in 2017, we had 2 networks operating at the same time, seeders that would invest in any talent, and the investors can be mixed in terms of gender, and the Lebanese Women Angel Fund that is only dedicated for women. It was a women fund created by women for women, and this was to attract and promote entrepreneurship for women in Lebanon. We succeeded in doing that, but what was funny or surprising, allow me to say, is that at the end of the investment period, those 2 groups had invested in the same companies, except for one. Yani Seeders invested in 4 startups. The LWAF, the Lebanese Angel Fund, we call it the LWAF. LWAF invested in 3, knowing that, you know, out of those 4, the 3 were identical and were women-led. And that was, you know, a beautiful output to show and to say in a very loud voice that women can do investment too, women can do finance too, women can do entrepreneurship too. So, so at the end of the program, we eventually in 2018 mixed those 2 groups, but we've placed a quota, a 50% quota on the number of investment that should be done by the mixed pot. So well, what you see over here is the total number that we've achieved. So we created 4 angel groups, total 105 graduated, meaning angel investment. So I need to note that during those investment sessions, we always started the first hour by giving a training in specific topic to those angels. And realistically, not every person today understands or can think of how to do evaluation. What is a due diligence? What question am I supposed to ask? So we used to train those investors on how to do things, what is the meaning of it, with a Swiss trainee that used to fly from Go Beyond, which is the middle logo that you find on this page. Certified dealers, deal leaders, means that, you know, after going through all those trainings, we would give a certificate of execution at the end. All in all, we've raised $2.5 million at outside capital because IM had invested exactly the same amount of money. So throughout those 4 groups and 5 years, we've invested more than $5 million. We did more than 30 investment sessions, which are those meetings that I talked to you about. 60 startup all in all pitched, and eventually we ended up by doing 10 investments. 2019 was the last group, and then in September of 2019 we had the Thawra. So this is where everything changed. The whole ecosystem unfortunately disappeared. I started today's session by telling you that the 331, through the 331, where the governor of the central bank allowed the commercial bank to invest, you know, they had the capital. So those 13 VCs that got incorporated later in 2015 had all their money coming from the commercial banks. And given the Thawra and the devaluation of the local currency and having the USD being stuck at the banks, all the commercial banks consequently stopped funding the venture capital, and the ecosystem disappeared totally. I have a small slide that I will share with you now to show you, give you a small perception of how it looks today, how is our ecosystem. So out of those 13 VCs and all those accelerators and incubators that I mentioned to you, all of them disappeared, and today the market is standing only on 2 VCs, that are the matching venture capital funds. So today they do not lead the 2 remainder; they can only match. So you need to go to them and tell them that you already have 50% of your investment ticket in order for them to give you the same amount. So that was my, if you can see my new screen now. On the left is the previous ecosystem, and today what you see on your right is where we stand. So the whole ecosystem, unfortunately, disappeared. Local banks as well stopped doing funding. That was 2019. 2020, we started with Corona, and then we had the Beirut blast, which unfortunately, anticipated or pushed really hard, the life of those entrepreneurs. So those startups were based in Lebanon. They had the money, their own money, and the company's money stuck at the bank. The venture capital lost its money, so they were standing on no money and living in a country where, whose capital unfortunately got cut probably in half. This is 2020. 2021, we had the fuel issue in Lebanon. And when I say fuel, means that, people were packing up everywhere at the petrol station. And since there is no electricity, obviously, internet got cut off on the majority of those startups. We had back at the time, we had just invested in 2020 in a technology fund that I'll tell you a little bit of its details. And we saw up to 10 startups that we have invested leaving the country during the fuel oil crisis more than during the blast or the local devaluation. Everyone repatriated. People just, went to Turkey, went to Georgia. They were just choosing countries that are cheap and have a fast internet connection. And all those entrepreneurs, unfortunately, left the country. So today in 2023, the ecosystem is not doing well at all. Our angel network back in IM, given all those issues that happened throughout those years, we stopped our angel program. However, and we pivoted into later stage investment. So since the summer of 2020, we started investing in growth stage companies because for us, given the nature of the local market, we wanted to sustain jobs and help companies that are already at the growth stage survive instead of creating new ideas and attracting innovation. So what was the pivot that we did at IM? So despite all this negativity that happened in Lebanon, I mentioned that we're standing at $79 million versus 15. So we were able to grow in size and in funding. And how did we do that in time of crisis? On the contrary, it's during time of crisis that entrepreneurship usually flourishes, because there are usually a lot of problems, and entrepreneurs are known to solve problems. But the only way you can make it is by assessing which sector will benefit from the current unfortunate environment. So 2020 was a very easy call. 2020 was Corona. So we've created SOS, it's called Save Our Startup Fund, which was a type of fund of funds into the technology sector. We've invested, as IM, as seed capital, $6 million, and we fundraised for the remainder $6 million to invest in 11 startups. We were able to get this money on Zoom during Corona. Everything was done online, and we've closed $12 million. 2021 was the year of a total free fall of the local currency, and usually which sector benefits from full devaluation is usually the local manufacturing, because the price of the product become more attractive on the export. So we've invested as well, first as IM, $6 million, fundraised for the other $6 million that we were able to get from a total of only 8 investors. And we've invested in 8 local manufacturing companies. 50% of those companies were in agri-food, 35% were in paper and textile, and the remainder 15% in chemicals. So this is how the fund looks. And in 2022, we had the fuel oil crisis. Obviously, it was an easy sector as well, which is solar. So, in finance, we say that money does not disappear. Money moves hands from one sector to a sector. And when you analyze well a macro situation of any country, you zoom into the sectors, and then from the sector, you would go approach the pipeline, do your due diligence, and close the deal. So that's, in a nutshell, a whole overview of what happened. Today, I am the president of LLWB, which is the Lebanese League for Women in Business. So, and what we're trying to do, so in finance, so I have an investor hat, obviously, and I'm dedicated to women empowerment, knowing that the numbers in Lebanon are very weak. And when we say that, globally, more than 20% of VC money goes to women, today in Lebanon, pre-corona, we were at 13%, and today we are at less than 4.4% in leadership position and women on board. So when you mix those two together, in finance, it becomes called gender lens investment finance. What does it mean? Gender lens, yani in the strategy of the venture capital, you will have one line that is dedicated to empowerment, to women empowerment. So we're hoping, to create this in 2024 and create a fund as well, created by women for women, that would invest in any talent, but the cost of capital related to that investment will depend on how diversified those companies are. So that's 2024, inshallah. Do you want to move to Q&A, or maybe pick up? I will pick up some questions, maybe from the. Okay, no questions.
Yes, I think we can move on to Q&A, Corinne, if this is okay. Okay, if you have questions, please type them in the chat, or just ask to unmute, please.
So I'm going to pick up the question of Abdurrahman Hisham. Should I have a prototype or a model for my idea before judgment? Prototype, well, it depends what type of investor you want to approach. So I'm going to give you an answer for those two. If you have only an idea and you do not have a prototype, you cannot approach nor a venture capital, and an angel investor would refrain a little bit because it's very new. So this is where you go, as I said, to the 3 F's. So it's family, fools, and friends. And you can pool money from this group, or you can approach those accelerators and incubators, because they usually would have grant money dedicated to early stage investors. And you can participate in competitions, usually in each country, in order for you to get the small amount of money that would help you have a prototype. And when you have a prototype, you'd be able to approach angel investor, and at a later stage, an early stage venture capital. I hope I answered the question, Abdurrahman. Muaz, will we take a fund during the competition? So I guess this is a question for Sarah. I hope you do, though.
Yes, we will be sharing these details later.
Okay. Saroush, what are the lessons learned from your journey in funding? It's impact, I guess. I came from Dubai, and I came back after serving 13 years in Dubai, and before that, I lived 3 years in Paris between trading job and the masters that I've done. When I was at Shoah, we were managing a $1 billion company, but everything that we did was on a screen. All the investment that we do were listed on the stock exchange, and we actually never saw those people. when I came back in Lebanon in 2015 and we started doing those early stage and late stage investments, it was beautiful because you can go and see the company growing. You can see the teams. You can, you sit on board. You're part of the strategy, and we are part of the losses. So when I say we have the 262 rule and 90% of those trades are failing trades, it's okay. We're not devastated usually when we see those numbers, because we're sitting on the board of those companies and we have continuous talk with our entrepreneur. So nothing really comes by surprise. And, so you see usually a company melting down and you're aware that the losses have become there. So I think the impact part is very is beautiful, and this is what I love about the job. That's it. Nathnael, is it a problem if the company has also a solo founder? It is a big problem. Why? So I'm just going to put it in a small expression. What if you get hit by a boss? What if the solo founder gets hit by a boss? And we had invested as angel or as VC $50,000 in this company. So if any company needs to have continuity, sometimes we will see tech founders starting solo, but throughout their journey, they will need to onboard the necessary expertise in order for them to take this company to the next level. And this expertise, you should not always only hire, because when you hire, that person can leave the startup for any other job that is better paid. And you don't want to lose your employees, nor the core team in any startup, because it's very hard to replace it. And this is when I will introduce the idea of ESOP, Employee Stock Option Plan, which is where those founders start to give the senior employees in their companies part of the capital so that remain part of this company. So no solo founders. You need, any company will require a lot of skills to grow. You need expertise in marketing, you need expertise in technology, you need expertise in operation and finance. Those are the three basic, and no one person can know them all. So that's my answer for solo founders. Saroush, I liked your tips on pitching and financial aspect of the startup. Thank you. Sorry, I saw that was a question. Thank you very much, Saroush. Maaz, what is the steps to make a useful marketing plan for my idea? How can I get my idea has a novelty in it? Well, marketing plan is usually done by a marketing expert, and the majority is usually focused on having an online and an offline marketing strategy. It's very, very important that the strategy to be clear, else you might lose a lot of money executing them. And you need to make sure that the expert that you put in the startup to create the strategy would make sure that the cost of execution of what he's doing is giving $1 at least in revenue. So, and the cost of acquiring those clients as well, online or offline, should be tracked in order for you to see how good this marketing strategy is. So, and I always recommend to go to experts, and usually they're the co-founders. So marketing is needed in any company. So solo founder, we just added, a needed marketing person to the team. How can I make my idea has novelty in it? You need to make a lot of research and a lot of R&D. We need to be aware on what's happening on the other side of the world and what are today the top tech technology, let's say, innovation that the world is working at. You need to go and educate yourself on the competition and what they're doing and what are you going to do better than this competition. You can serve the web. You have to go to multiple challenges and startup competition. Expose yourself to what the world has innovated and what your peers are doing in order for you to maintain always a top position in your market. I've seen a lot of startups starting with a beautiful, innovative idea, but then two companies from China and the US, or from Dubai and Saudi Arabia, or any big country today that has VC funding targeted to the youth, with the $10 million, obviously they can run faster and make things in a quicker way. So always expose yourself to competition, innovation, investors, accelerator. You have to be aware of what's happening in your market. So that's my answer. From anonymous attendee, is there someone essential concept that should I learn more about? Essential concept. He's asking about some essential concept. It's team and idea. Team and idea. Team. First and foremost, you can be sure that over my 8 years at IM, we used to see per year more than 200 to 50 entrepreneurs every year. And out of those 250 or 300, you can be sure that more than 30% had exactly the same idea. Okay, so what's different then about one startup to another? It is the core team. It is the core team, and how good are they at working together, and how committed are they to the startup, so that when we invest, as investors, as angel investors, we're not here to manage the company on their behalf, nor the VC want or can do it. So we're here to add value to what we know in terms of finance, investment, network, and access to finance. But we're expecting, the founders themselves to be responsible on the company as from a management perspective. So that's the first one. So the team is very important, and the idea is obviously important as well. But you need to make a clear. You need to be clear about your competition, and I will say it again. What is your 10x factor? What are you doing better so that your company become $1 billion idea? That's my question. The essential concept. Anonymous as well. What is exactly a startup? If I develop my first product and sell it, can I consider myself a startup? A startup is any idea today that is being worked on. As long as you have a team, or you might start on your own and then onboard the remainder expertise, you are a startup. You don't need to be registered really to be a startup unless you need funding. But every company, every idea today starts by being just an idea for the first 4 to 6 months, and then they incorporate in order for them to get the funding. So that is my answer to you. Where am I? What's the criteria needed for the top team's selection? I'm not going to tell you that there is a qualification. Obviously we expect people to be at a certain level in education and in knowledge with regard to the sector. But no, what we care about is the diversification of this team and how good the corporate governance in that specific company is. Anna, I'm a strong believer of corporate governance. Any startup should have today a board, if it's not a board of director, because they're still at a very early stage, and sometimes to have a real board of director, but you need to have at least advisory board, which will give you the diversification and the ability to talk to people that are at a way more senior position than you, and would give an added value to your strategy, or your marketing strategy, or your business strategy, or any question that you have today for those people. You need to know something that entrepreneurs don't really like investors, and it is a little bit understandable, because we really get into the company and start giving opinions when the entrepreneur knows that it is his idea and it is his doing. And when we start to ask a lot of questions, some will be offended. So, and when the entrepreneur, because the investor holds the money and the investor is expecting return, sometimes you see that, entrepreneur would reportray reality, allow me to say, or boost a little bit their numbers so that the conversation would be easier on them when he's faced to the investor or the VC. However, so this is understandable. However, the advisor, he's not expecting any financial return, and he's there to advise, coach, and mentor the entrepreneur. So you see those entrepreneurs telling all the truth to their advisory board or mentors. Well, they will portray half of the reality to the entrepreneur. Because the investor has the capital, so the entrepreneur always needs to give a good story, so he gets a follow-on investment ticket, and ends up by not giving the clear or the full reality per se. So team is super important, corporate governance from day one always. So Bassem, that's my answer to you. I have a question from Omar. If I already have a previous idea and we made a prototype or full business model from this idea as a graduation project at 2020, and nowadays I have another idea, should I edit or modify the previous business model to match this idea? Or it would be better if I create a new one from scratch? So you have an existing prototype, and now it depends. If it's the same idea, you just uplift it. But if it's not, if it's a completely different idea, you have to be you need to have its own prototype. I'm gonna just think maybe your question relates to, so you had a prototype, should you announce to the investor that you already have maybe an idea that failed? I don't know if that's a question, but I'm gonna answer this one too. Anna, I love second time entrepreneurs, really. And when you fail the first time, you should not hide it. On the contrary, you should, because that gives you experience in entrepreneurship today. No one can, it's very surreal to sleep one day, wake up with an idea and directly get those funding. Things don't happen that way, nor that fast. But for me, a failed idea is an experience, and entrepreneurship requires a lot of skills that are usually gained on the job. So that's my answer to you, Omar. And if I missed what you wanted me to ask, please type me again the question. I have a question from Shizoba. Please, when will the mountain? Okay, this is for you, Sarah. When will announcement for the 10th startup be published? We submitted our idea without a pitch deck, and so it's still a research paper.
Also, this is, I think, related to the competition. We will be sending all these details directly after, inshallah. I believe people are really keen to know more from you, Corinne, because this was really insightful. However, I guess that your time, you are tight on time for today.
So, and I have two more questions. Do you want me to answer them?
Yes, sure. Okay, and we will be starting our next training session after.
So Ahmad, the question is for you, Rana. I will skip it. I have a question from Zara. By the next week, no, it's for you too, Rana. Okay, I'm done with the question. طلعوا هوليك appreciations لإلك رنا, so if you want to pick it. بس بعت لهلا if we have running business and we need the fund for R&D to innovate new ideas and projects that considered to start. If we have a running business and we need funds for R&D to innovate, is that well, if the business has been running and available for the past 4 or 10 years with a clear value proposition, more than 3 years of financials, yes, you are not considered as a startup. But a startup, when I say startup, if you notice at the beginning of this call, we say early stage startup, later stage startup. So, we can put a lot of acronym before that. But usually a startup doesn't have more than 3 years of financial audits. So that's it. Sarah, thank you everyone, and thank you to all the participants.
Thanks for you, Corinne, for your valuable time. Corinne, the president of the LLWB, Lebanese League for Women in Business. Again, thank you so much for this insightful session, and looking forward to future sessions, inshallah. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hello again. We have also with us Engineer Zainab Allawi. Hello, Engineer Zainab.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
I hope you're doing well.
Yes, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. It seems like everyone here is doing great too. Lots of excitement. I love seeing that.
Great. Engineer Zainab is joining us from AWS, Amazon Web Services. She is based in Bahrain and she is a solutions architect at AWS. Engineer Zainab enjoys collaborating with customers to build automated solutions in AWS to solve everyday challenges. Welcome again, Engineer Zainab.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm super happy to be here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and speak with a bright bunch about a bunch of technical things. So, as Sarah mentioned, my name is Zainab Allawi. I am a solutions architect. I've been working here at AWS for around 3 years. And I'm super excited to be talking to you about Internet of Things. So, Sarah, unless there's anything that you'd like to add, we can go ahead and get started.
Definitely. If it's possible, if you can open the camera, if it's okay with you. Otherwise, we are ready to start.
Yeah.
If it's okay
I was
with
not
you.
prepared for that. So
Yeah, sure. No worries at all. Yes, thank you.
Anytime. Okay. So throughout our time at AWS, we've seen a number of customers come to us and expressing some pain points regarding some challenges that they've seen in their business, regardless of their industry. So we've seen some customers that come to us and they say that they want to identify and improve inefficient systems, such as equipment on a factory line or products with customers in the field. Many customers have trouble getting the data that they need to improve these systems. Other customers we've seen have trouble harnessing fragmented, siloed, or distributed data. A lot of times, data may be stuck in multiple legacy systems, and it isn't centralized in the cloud. This makes it a blocker for them for using cutting-edge technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning. We've seen some customers also that want to deliver new, innovative, more competitive, and personalized experiences to customers. But they're also having trouble managing the explosion of data in their company. They want to collect, process, and manage data from their devices to the cloud to be able to intelligently act on the insights. And lastly, many customers operate in harsh or remote environments, so they need to better operate and act from anywhere. And this is especially true in industries like oil and gas. So you may be wondering, what is the solution to these challenges? You'd be in luck because that's exactly what we're going to be speaking about today. So the Internet of Things, or IoT, is the bridge between the physical and digital worlds. It unlocks the data needed to transform industrial operations, improve sustainability, create innovative consumer experiences, and help governments and enterprises to tackle problems in infrastructure, safety, and health. The IoT landscape is comprised of a network of connected devices that can use technology to communicate with each other and the cloud. It also includes billions of devices and sensors, or things as we call them, connected to the cloud that collect data from places, whether the place be an office, factory, or a building. It collects data from people, whether through trackers or the presence of a number of people in a room. And it also collects data from hardware, whether the hardware be a production machine or a factory equipment. The third thing about IoT is that there is an inclusion of IoT applications, which are offerings that connect and manage data from various devices. analyze the data, such as with machine learning, and then interfaces with users to derive actions and recommendations for intelligent business outcomes. Over the last several years, the impact of IoT has continued to grow. According to IDC, there is an estimated of 40 billion connected devices by today. One industry where we're seeing a lot of growth is in manufacturing, where 51% of manufacturers are using IoT today, according to IDC. Another big area of growth is connected vehicles. By 2030, McKinsey predicts that 95% of new vehicles will be an IoT device on wheels. It's clear that there's a lot of investment in IoT. And some of you may be wondering why. Why is there a lot of investment in IoT? Why is there a lot of interest in IoT? This is because investing in IoT transforms business operations. In the short term, connecting data across the digital and physical worlds allows customers to optimize performance and efficiencies by identifying issues within systems and operations and make more informed business decisions with analytics, machine learning, and AI. But also in the long term, it supports customers in transforming their businesses, letting them generate new value by expanding and growing their business in new areas and reimagine customer experiences with innovation. Now let's take a look at one example close to home. This example that is close to home is none other than Amazon. Our innovations in IoT is helping our customers reimagine their experiences. Let's take a look at the retail logistics and purchasing process. Amazon facilities, such as Amazon fulfillment centers, are where your goods are picked, packaged, and prepared for delivery if you order on Amazon.com. Globally, we have more than 300 facilities powered by IoT and edge devices, like our 520K plus robotic drive units. Today, about 75% of Amazon customer orders are now handled in part by robotics that support employees who deliver for customers. Then these packages need to be picked up by trucks all over the country. In the past, there would be long lines of drivers waiting to check in to find out what part of the country they're assigned to. But with AWS IoT, and specifically Kinesis video streams, we're able to streamline the check-in and check-out processes at Amazon fulfillment centers. They're able to automatically check in and see where to go on their mobile application. This saved over 700,000 hours for the drivers and carriers across North America in 2022 alone. Lastly, as you shop for goods at physical retail locations, many of our stores use the Just Walk Out technology for a fast, frictionless way to shop without the hassle of checking out at the register. Using AWS IoT and edge services, stores like Amazon Go let customers just pick up the goods that they want, like a bottle of water or some chips, and grab it and go. It's as simple as that. No checkout queues, no one, ringing in the items. It's just as easy as that. You pick up and go, which makes it easier and faster when you're in a hurry. Let's take a look at a wide variety of use cases and verticals for where customers are using IoT. For consumer, we work with many original equipment manufacturers and original design manufacturer-based companies with connected devices. They're able to quickly build secure products, connect devices, and support scalability and reliability. An example of this is Wise Labs, which is a smart home technology company who wanted to evolve its product offering to a suite of connected home products. Wise turned to Amazon Kinesis Video to automatically provision and scale streaming video data. With AWS, Wise scaled to 7 million smart cameras in less than 3 years and reduced development time for new features by 50%. In industrial and in manufacturing, customers can improve process performance and productivity, inventory tracking, and operation management and safety. One example of this is CCI, the 6th largest bottler of Coca-Cola products by sales volume. They use AWS IoT to digitize their shop floor and manufacturing processes, add robust analytics, and improve process efficiency and environmental sustainability, letting them save 20% on energy and 9% on water annually. For connected vehicles, customers are able to manage vehicle data, electric vehicle data, machine learning models, and advanced in-cabin experiences. And an example of this is Wireless Car, which is a provider of digital vehicle services who worked with AWS IoT to manage its vehicle fleets at scale, without having to manage infrastructure, letting them connect millions of vehicles to the cloud. Then when it comes to public sector and smart cities and transportation, customers are looking to use smart metering technologies and improve operational logistics, support the tactical edge, and manage traffic and public safety. One example of a smart city transformation is the city of Heidelberg in Germany, where they're using the AWS Smart Territory Framework to digitize services, including using IoT data from multiple sources such as traffic, environmental data, for simple analysis and visualizations that help public servants support the city. Last but not least, we have commercial and smart buildings, where customers are looking to improve experiences and improve the sustainability of buildings. An example of this is Entrada, a property management software company that uses AWS IoT to securely transmit messages to and from all IoT devices across multiple units and buildings. This gives them access to understanding the status of assets like lights, thermostats, and door locks online, thereby giving property managers the ability to see the status of buildings and provide faster maintenance. For many organizations, connecting a few devices is simple, but things get more complex when they're looking to scale, such as when updating a fleet, onboarding new devices, and keeping platforms secure and future-proof. Customers often tell us about 4 common areas where they struggle with IoT. The first area is navigating the breadth of technologies and skills needed in the ecosystem. There are a wide variety of technologies and vendors in the IoT ecosystem, and many skills needed to succeed. Customers struggle to navigate the ecosystem and find the right solution that matches their skill set, IT, and skill requirements and business needs. The second area is challenges in adoption, scaling, and managing devices. Customers struggle to manage their IoT solutions. For example, how do you connect legacy equipment that wasn't designed for digitization? How do you connect digitized OT with IT backend quickly, cost-effectively, and robustly? And how do you scale as business needs evolve? The third area is connecting and securing devices. IT and line of business customers see security concerns as the top challenge for IoT projects, which limits a business's ability to move an IoT pilot to production. Last but not least, there are concerns with future-proofing investments. Customers have to consider how IoT investments will impact legacy equipment, work with earlier IoT investments, drive return of investment, and incur technical debt in the future. Like the last thing any customer wants to do is buy devices and then have to decommission them in the next year because they've gone obsolete. And this is why AWS and its partners take the complexity out of IoT by providing a deep and broad set of partners, solutions, and services so you can generate revenue and decrease costs. Services and solutions that make it easy to manage, collect, scale, analyze, and act on data, so you can drive efficiency across processes and invest in services like analytics, business intelligence, and machine learning. Trusted security from the cloud to the edge, so you have the confidence to innovate on the customer experience and allow continuous innovation to keep up with the pace of change in the industry. You see these investments because of how we've invested in IoT to support other Amazon services and our support for open formats and standards. There are many ways to get started with IoT technologies. AWS helps you choose the right approach based on your technical capabilities, customization requirements, and when you need to find value. First, we have the AWS Cloud and IoT services. AWS for IoT is built on the backbone of our AWS Cloud services, which includes a wide portfolio of more than 200 services, from artificial intelligence and machine learning to analytics to compute, networking, and storage. but we also have IoT services that support device software, connectivity and control, and analytics and video streaming. This provides the full breadth of service options for builders to create custom IoT applications with the highest flexibility and control through our professional services, AWS partners, or even internal developers. Next, we have the purpose-built IoT services. The AWS service team has a wide portfolio of fully managed, secure, reliable, and scalable purpose-built services that accelerate and simplify the time to build and manage IoT applications for specific industries and use cases, such as industrial and automotive. This portfolio comes with industry-leading security services that support AWS from the cloud to the farthest edge of IoT devices. This approach requires some development, but you can customize the services based on your needs and spend your time to value and speed up your time to value. Finally, we have solutions. So AWS and its partners provide complete solutions for a specific use case or a specific set of use cases, which includes ready-to-deploy code and configurations and customizable architectural guidance. This approach provides a quick path to IoT solutions, but has less flexibility without additional development. Here is the full AWS for IoT stack across solutions, purpose-built IoT services, and AWS cloud services. Everything at AWS is built on top of our AWS cloud services, and we have many customers that decide to build their own IoT platforms with these base services. Alternatively, we have many customers that augment their platforms with key services like our machine learning suite, like Amazon SageMaker, Amazon Lookout for Vision, Amazon Lookout for Equipment, and Amazon Monitron. Our other suite of services specific for analytics, like Amazon Athena, Amazon Kinesis, Amazon TimeStream, and Amazon QuickSight. But we do have our purpose-built IoT services. And for those, we have three base categories to help customers design for IoT, connect and manage their IoT applications, and analyze and act on data. We have the first one, as you can see on the left, is the design for devices. These services are all about accelerating the development of IoT-enabled connected products. Whether you are working with microcontrollers or need to enable connectivity on your hardware devices, or simply want to boost your preferred hardware device to process data locally, there are multiple options from AWS that can help offload the functional tasks for you. We have free RTOS, and I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into some of these services later on in the presentation. But for now, I'll just provide a brief on the different services that you can see here. The first one is free RTOS, which is a real-time operating system for resource-constrained devices. We also have AWS IoT Express Link, which is software that powers connectivity modules from partners to help you quickly develop IoT-enabled products. We also have AWS IoT Device Management, which allows you to register, organize, monitor, and remotely manage connected devices at scale. With AWS IoT Greengrass, you have open source edge runtime to build intelligent IoT devices and gateways faster. And there are a set of tools that we provide that allows you to build IoT applications also. So one of the tools is AWS IoT Device SDK, which is an open source library that involves developer guides, sample apps, and porting guides to help you build IoT solutions. Another tool is AWS IoT Device Client, which is free, open source, modular software written in C++ that you can compile and install on your embedded Linux-based IoT devices. Another thing is the AWS IoT Device Tester, which is a test automation tool for microcontrollers and Linux-based IoT devices. We also have AWS IoT Device Advisor, which is a cloud-based, fully managed test capability for validating IoT devices during device software development. Another category, as you can see here, is the Connect and Manage. These services help customers manage, securely connect and manage your data. The first service, as you can see here, is AWS IoT Core that enables you to easily secure and connect devices to the cloud. You also have AWS IoT Device Defender, which is a security management tool across your IoT devices and fleets. You also have Amazon Kinesis video streams that enables you to capture, process, and store media streams for playback, analytics, and machine learning. And the third category is the Analyze and Act, which involves AWS IoT Analytics, which is a fully managed, operationalized analytics for your IoT devices that enables you to make sense of the data that you receive and to make decisions according to the insights that you see. Another service is AWS IoT Events that allows you to detect and respond to events from IoT sensors and applications. We also have purpose-built IoT industry services that build upon the other purpose-built IoT services to support customers in specific verticals. So these are the ones in the industry on the right-hand side. These services include AWS IoT Twin Maker. This service is for creating digital replicas of real-world systems. You have AWS IoT Sitewise for tracking and monitoring industrial equipment. You also have AWS IoT Fleetwise that allows you to collect, transform, and transfer vehicle data to the cloud in near real time. And then you also have AWS IoT RoboRunner for enabling fleets of robots to work together. When it comes to solutions, we have 4 solution areas. We have the edge and device infrastructure that combine hardware, firmware, devices, connectivity, and security, and infrastructure essential for building, extending, or optimizing IoT solutions. Use cases include enabling device connectivity and managing a fleet of IoT-enabled devices with functions such as certificate management, detecting intrusions, and security incidents. The second category is the operational technology and asset management that include IoT solutions for industrial use cases that help customers maximize productivity and output from their assets in the field or in a plant. Solutions include technologies related to historians to manage and track assets in real time or near real time. IoT applications are ready to deploy solutions for specific use cases, such as worker safety or a specific AI/ML use case. They include all the software needed and some hardware. Solutions in this area focus on gaining insights, driving actions from IoT data, incorporating AI/ML, and leveraging computer vision, and in particular packaged within app-based capabilities. You also have the vertical accelerators. These vertical accelerators address the vertical or industry-specific requirements of an IoT platform. Solutions that have industry-specific profiles, such as connected mobility solutions or connected homes, these solution responses are vertical-specific, but they do need customization or configuration prior to being deployed for end customers. AWS makes it easy to securely connect virtually any device to the cloud, whether the device is powered by a microcontroller or a microprocessor. For microcontrollers, customers can use free RTOS or the AWS IoT Device SDK for embedded C to easily connect devices. For microprocessors, customers can use Greengrass or the AWS IoT SDK to connect securely into AWS IoT Core. AWS IoT Express Link powers a range of hardware modules developed and offered by AWS partners such as Espressif, Infineon, and uBlocks. The connectivity modules include AWS-validated software, making it faster and easier for you to securely connect devices to the cloud and seamlessly integrate with a range of AWS services. All right, let's dive a little bit deeper into free RTOS. Free RTOS, as I mentioned before, is a real-time operating system for resource-constrained devices. Free RTOS leads the microcontrollers RTOS category. AWS continues to invest in free RTOS since taking stewardship over the project. As you can see, it supports over 40 supported architectures. It's been going for 18 years plus, and it's free and open source. The benefits of using free RTOS is that it's open source and it has a broad ecosystem, which in turn accelerates the time to market because there are pre-configured demos and IoT reference integrations that you can instantly download, compile, and get to market faster. You have a trusted kernel with proven robustness, tiny footprint, and wide device support. And you have a device-to-cloud enterprise-grade security from AWS. With this, you rest assured that you are mitigating any long-term maintenance risks and costs when it comes to adopting this technology. Another service that I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into today is AWS IoT Express Link. AWS IoT Express Link is software that powers connectivity modules from partners to help you quickly develop IoT-enabled products. And I'm going to go back to this slide right here just to show you the different options. So we've mentioned that for microcontrollers, you can use FreeRTOS or the C SDK. For microprocessors, you can use AWS IoT Greengrass. For a wireless module, you can use AWS IoT Express Link, which is what I'm going to be talking about now. Now, to create a secure IoT device, we've seen that customers use complex APIs to achieve cloud connectivity. First, they need to connect to a physical layer, like, for example, a Wi-Fi radio. The second thing they need to do is they need to establish TCP and IP communication. The third thing they need to do is connect to an internet protocol endpoint. The fourth thing they need to do is they need to upgrade to TLS and perform mutual authentication. The fifth thing they need to do is to log into an MQTT broker and subscribe to topics as required. The technical knowledge required to execute these steps is rare to find, forcing companies to either invest in creating a team of connectivity experts or outsource the work to consulting services. As a result of this, resources are diverted from building innovative products and instead spend on repetitive, undifferentiated work. Now, with AWS IoT Express Link, you can shift the complex but undifferentiated work of cloud connectivity to the module and seamlessly integrate with a range of AWS IoT services in a fraction of the time and cost. An IoT project can quickly snowball into a complex endeavor with long development cycles and high failure rates. Modules that use AWS IoT Express Link make it faster and easier for developers of all skill levels to securely connect almost any device to the cloud and seamlessly integrate with over 200 AWS IoT services, including AWS IoT Core. Every module with AWS IoT Express Link comes pre-configured with a unique identifier and a certificate to simplify deployment at scale. The modules can be onboarded in a user account using a number of common methods and make it easy to support late binding onboarding mechanisms to increase flexibility and reduce manufacturing time and cost. Moreover, with AWS IoT Device Defender, you can natively monitor your device's health and easily manage your fleets at scale with AWS IoT Device Management. You can see here the benefits of using IoT Express Link. Because it offloads a lot of the undifferentiated heavy lifting, you can quickly jump in to create your business value. And of course, it makes it simpler for you. And you can rest assured that it is built with security in mind. And it allows you to manage a fleet of at scale. And it also has IP protection. Another service that I'm going to be speaking about today is AWS IoT Greengrass. As I mentioned before, Greengrass is an open source edge runtime to build intelligent IoT devices and gateways faster. AWS IoT Greengrass is an IoT cloud service and an open source edge runtime that helps customers develop, deploy, and manage IoT device software. AWS IoT Greengrass not only enables customers to build edge applications which can be easily deployed, but AWS IoT Greengrass also provides application lifecycle management, downstream devices communication and management, and supports local machine inference and provides integration with IoT Core and other AWS services. Building with AWS IoT Greengrass allows you to focus on your unique business logic and easily add intelligence to your devices, accelerating your time to market and reducing your total cost of ownership. AWS IoT Greengrass has multiple ways it can be used to build IoT devices and IoT device software. The first way is that it can be installed on your IoT endpoints directly and connected to AWS. This case is good in cases where you have lots of higher powered distributed devices that are mobile and have a consistent power supply and an independent internet connection. For example, this scenario would be extremely beneficial for cases where you have consumer smart devices like TVs, appliances, or home hubs. Another way is AWS IoT Greengrass can be installed on a hub or gateway. IoT devices are not directly connected to the cloud, but instead they communicate with hubs or gateways locally, which then connect to the cloud. This is good in cases where you have lots of lower powered sensors or higher powered equipment in one physical region that are communicating over a common network and want to connect, aggregate, filter, or act on data from those devices through a central broker. In both of these scenarios, once you have configured your device software using Greengrass, it can operate in disconnected mode, where it does not need continuous cloud connectivity. Now, we've mentioned how all of these services can allow you to integrate like your physical devices to the cloud. And we've mentioned AWS IoT Core. So AWS IoT Core allows you to easily and securely connect devices to the cloud. AWS IoT Core has several components. These components include the identity service providing authentication and authorization. It includes device gateway to securely connect devices to the AWS cloud and other devices at scale. It includes a message broker process, and it routes data messages to the cloud. It also includes a rules engine that trigger actions on your devices. It also includes a device shadow that enables applications to interact with devices even when they are offline. It also includes a registry that enables automatic device registration and a device location to optimize maintenance processes, to optimize the maintenance process and complement insights with device location info like latitude and longitude. The AWS IoT mobile and device SDKs enable you to build your own connectivity capabilities to connect devices to AWS IoT Core. So it allows you to build your own applications. So you can abstract MQTT protocol, and it has support for a mobile platform. And the SDK is available in languages like JavaScript, Python, Java, Embedded C, and C++. Which allows you to build your own applications basically using these capabilities. And of course, it has end-to-end cloud security with TLS 1.2 or later. Partners are critical for IoT deployment and management because there are so many components that go into creating an IoT platform for customers. We have a wide variety of partners across system integrators, independent software and hardware vendors, distributors, silicon and connectivity partners will help you deploy with confidence. The reason for that is that they help customers overcome skill and resource gaps, and they work with customers in collaborating on domain and industry applications, and they grow with you based on your management, maintenance, and scale requirements. And they also help you speed your time to market, and they help minimize the deployment and maintenance risk. At AWS, security is the top priority. So with all of these services and solutions, AWS is extending the most secure cloud computing environment available today to IoT devices at the edge. So whether you are using AWS IoT managed services, partner solutions, or builder services, customers have access to preventative and active monitoring and response to keep data and devices secure. Preventative support comes as follows. So AWS provides preventative security measures such as device identity and authentication, encryption, and access control to the device data. When it comes to monitoring, AWS continuously monitors and audits security configurations for compliance with security best practices. So you can receive alerts, so you can mitigate potential security issues, such as pushing a security fix to a device, for example. When it comes to governance, AWS stores device history 24 times longer than other offerings to support corporate governance and security regulations. Now, let's take a look at a few customers and what they're doing with AWS. We have LG, which is a South Korean technology company that is using one of our purpose-built IoT services, which is AWS IoT Fleetwise, to quickly collect data based on industry standards, regardless of car type, to help their customers provide better consumer experiences through rapid prototyping and cost-effective validation of mobility services that can increase insights and understanding of vehicle behaviors. We also have Bissell, which is a premium cleaning products company. They worked with AWS Professional Services and Tensor IoT to create a scalable, high-performing, and cost-effective IoT platform in preparation for onboarding products and bringing new products to market. Bissell has 1 million registered vacuum devices in their existing IoT platform, powered by AWS IoT. And currently, 25% of those devices are connected in the field. With increasing adoption of connected vacuum cleaners around the world, Bissell is expecting 1 million devices to be connected in the field in the near future. Bissell wanted to ensure its IoT platform could scale with this rapid expected growth across product categories. We also have Miso Robotics, who provides robots as a service and intelligent automation solutions. They collaborated with AWS to help restaurants improve operational efficiency and enhance customer satisfaction. Their products, like Flippy 2, which is in the photo right here, Flippy Light, and Cook Right, use robotics to support and shape the kitchen of the future. The company used AWS RoboMaker to test its products during development and is looking to use AWS IoT Greengrass, which, as I mentioned, is an open source edge runtime and cloud service, to help replace existing data pipelines. Finally, we have John Deere, which is an American corporation that manufactures agricultural machinery and heavy equipment. John Deere is using AWS IoT TwinMaker and the Amazon Chime SDK for connected support in a dashboard. TwinMaker provides operators with a digital twin of the factory, and Chime is basically a video conferencing tool, which makes it easier for factory operators to connect with experts via chat and face-to-face conversations. Now, the operator can request assistance from experts located anywhere in the world, access and remotely control cameras so they can see what the operator sees, and view the same terminal that the operator is working in. John Deere also uses AWS IoT Core and Analytics technologies to track, report, and manage their fleet of 500,000 connected machines to help farmers get the most out of their harvest. The information provided by AWS IoT is displayed on dashboards, mobile applications, and even the screens in the cab of the tractor, harvester, and sprayer. Farmers use this information to generate more food from each acre of land, while simultaneously using less herbicide, pesticides, and other consumables, so everybody wins. And there are so many other customers that we're working with every day to support their operational and business use cases. When looking at each of these approaches, you should consider your business outcomes, technical competencies, customization requirements, and when you need to bring a solution to market. We have a flexible solution stack, so many customers choose multiple approaches based on their competencies. For example, you may want to leverage plug-and-play software to fill in the gaps where you don't have internal resources, or you use purpose-built services to accelerate development and building blocks to customize based on your own requirements. And that concludes the presentation for today. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Engineer Zainab. That was really
Thank
insightful.
you.
We have some Q&As in the Q&A section, if you would like to address them.
Yes. So the first
Okay.
question is, can you take the contact? Yes, I have my email here, and you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to connect with you. The second question is, please, are we going to get the chance to submit the prototype of our idea after the training sessions? Yeah, I believe this question is for you, Sarah.
Yes. Correct. Yeah, they will definitely be sent. A link will be shared with all our esteemed participants, and in this link, they will be able to submit their final pitch or presentation for the idea.
Okay, the other question is, the services are relevant to our idea submitted. Some of the things we look at includes amplifying digital platforms to reduce paper usage, streamline operations, and increase efficiency in the tourism industry. Would the program offer us tools to support our product?
Yeah,
I
this is
think
also
this
a
is,
question
for you.
correct. True. But the other question from Zainuddin, Rahila, if I wanted to create an app, there are who can help me in all the steps. I believe this is something on both levels, technical and related to the competition. If you would like Engineer Zainab to give insights to the participant, like what's required roughly to create an app.
Okay, so this is a very broad question. I could spend the next 3 hours answering it.
Yes.
So, like, it depends on what kind of app you're building, but more than that, what we encourage people to do, especially when it comes to hackathons like this, is think of the tech as a means to an end. This is not the end itself. Yani, the goal is not to build an app. The goal is the business impact of the app. How is this app going to make, the pilgrims, yani, Hajj, the whole thing more sustainable? How is it going to improve the operations? How is it going to make it a less stressful or a less, an easier process for everyone involved? Now, this is a question that I think the competition wants you to address, and a competition that I think you would need to address also. So the technical aspect will always be there. So I think there will be mentoring sessions during the competition as well. So you would have access to potentially me or other technical people that would help you address specific technical questions, like for example, on how to build an app on AWS. I'd be happy to answer that. But I think at this point in time, what matters more is to think about how you can make a difference and make an impact when it comes to making it more sustainable and making the whole process run better.
Thank you very much, Engineer Zainab. I believe the other questions are related to the competition itself, but we have a question from a participant named Abu Shamil. Thank you very much for the presentation. They are asking if the presented tools and services are free and available in Africa.
Okay, so we do have a region in Africa. And when it comes to the pricing, so it's going to depend precisely on what service you use. If you use AWS IoT Core, it's very cheap. And I can share with you the pricing page for AWS IoT Core or any specific service that you require. Our pricing is transparent and it's open. You can just go and say, AWS service X pricing, and you can see how much it would cost. I believe you have a free tier for most of these, but again, it depends on the exact service that you're asking about.
Thank you very much, Engineer Zainab.
Thank you so much.
Shizoba and Dr. Faizul are sending you also their thank you notes.
Thank you so much,
and
everyone.
I'm joining them in this. Thank you. Okay, for the other questions, just for the sake of your time, Engineer Zainab, we will be answering them aside. I would like just to remind all the participants about the training sessions tomorrow. We have also Engineer Zainab's colleague, Engineer Hassan. Engineer Hassan Al-Jashi will be providing a training about machine learning. So we will have a machine learning overview. And we will have another session about adapting innovation, also with the engineer Abdulrahman Al-Khogair and engineer Usama Madkhali. So we are looking forward to seeing you there tomorrow too.
Be sure to join the session with my colleague. He's a very good speaker. You won't regret it.
Thank you for the recommendation.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
It was lovely speaking to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.